There's that funky slide guitar music. Done every Monday through Friday. Live 5 on the FB Network, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type an I, NEWSOM, Roy Bleckert. Of course, we'll join the mighty Met KMET as we usually do at the bottom of the hour. On top of the war stuff going on, which Trump just came on and says we're doing good. Some say maybe by the end of this week we'll be out of there, which can't be soon enough. That whole Iran thing needs to be wrapped up. And that Gavin Newsom's made the news with his grifting wife. His non-answer, well, it was totally bizarre. We'll get to that in a minute. Of course, we'll have Dr. Kelly Victory, as we usually do at the bottom of the hour. But first, like we had the lead, story of the day. Man, oh man, can you believe it? I paid $107 to fill up at other horror stories from LA's out-of-control gas crisis. And out of control it is. And the good part of it is, at least in California, maybe the vast majority of the voters in California are waking up to the hose job we've been getting all across the board. Energy prices being the worst. We were already close to $5 a gallon, and we haven't hardly been below that, for 6-7 years now. And with this latest Iran thing going on, and price of a barrel went up to 90 or 100. I think it backed off to 90 with Trump's vignette today. One thing they're doing is not blaming Trump in California. They're blaming Gavin Newsom. And they're finally putting the blame where it should be. This is the headline in the CA Post. I paid $107 to fill up, and other horror stories from LA's out-of-control gas crisis. Yes, in the California Post, that's where Anita Johan. She put up, after Jill Gottlieb finished filling up her car at Chevron station in downtown Los Angeles, the final tally of the gas pump read 107. It's crazy. The social worker, as we say, from the LA Department of Health told the Post the staggering amount that she paid to top off her 2017 Benz. I've never filled up my tank for this much before. As gas prices surge, the symbolic station there at Alameda Street, $8.21 a gallon. The famous Chevron station. There's the young lady who was filling up. Crystal from Orange pumped 3.7 gallons of gas. It was over $30 frickin'. They're saying, this is effing crazy, Crystal said. And again, they're finally putting the blame where it should be, on Gulag Gavin Newsom. Because this has been going on. Yeah, we're going to get this, little excursion into Iran. Hopefully, like I said, that's coming to an end. At least, hopefully, the indications Donald J. has given today. And we'll be back to doing with the back down to less than $60 a barrel instead of $100. But again, the raging headlines. Furious Californians slam Gavin Newsom's stealth plan that will bring even more gas price hikes, taxing us to death. Zayan Kahan, that's a good one. Californians have torn into Gavin Newsom's for plotting new legislation that will likely spike gas prices. Not likely, will spike gas prices, claiming he is taxing us to death. The backlash centers on draft regulations filed to the state's cap and trade and no, it's not cap and trade, it's cap and invest. Notice how they changed the vernacular of this. Overseen by the California Air Resources Board, that odious organization that doesn't know its hat from a hole in the ground, they're running this. Chevron's put it out. They said, hey, this goes on. You pass this stuff, CARB, we're going to be out. No, you're going to be down to 5 refineries. The backlash centers under draft regulations that the critics say are frightening, or tightening these caps, strongly backed by NEWSOM, could further drive up the cost of gasoline and diesel in a state that drivers already pay far more than the national average. Stop Taxing Us to Death, wrote Victoria Comfort in comments responding to proposed regulations. None of these taxes are helping Californians. So they're finally getting it. They're finally getting the ripoff. About half, almost half, and let's say at $5 a gallon, almost half, almost $2.50 a gallon's going to taxes in California for a gallon of gas or diesel. And most of that, probably $2 of it's going to California somewhere or another. I think the federal tax is 40 cents, about 10 cents of the sales tax goes to the cities and local agencies. They're threatening 500,000 jobs and about $64 billion in revenue is what the oil and gas industry pumps into California every year. It's going to be absolutely amazing what strikes about that. Suzette Valladares, state senator from California, had this to say on KCRA radio with the great Ashley Zavala. Here we go.
Unfortunately, I think that the governor is still running for president, and he doesn't want to take this issue on. He's going to leave it to the next person. Industry needs this dealt with now, and I also have a feeling that there's a legislature that either doesn't understand that we're not even at the edge of the cliff, we're falling, and we need to take care of this now. And I don't think that they know that they're falling, and it's going to be a hard landing.
They know we're falling. I don't disagree with Suzanne's premise. The California kook legislature knows exactly what they're doing. They know they're crashing the economy. They're killing jobs. They're going to kill revenue. They're stupid. They think you're stupid enough that you're going to just keep bailing them out, and you're going to keep giving them more money to screw us that they're going to use to screw us with. The great Ashley Zavala just about an hour ago posted this. Marathon sends a letter to California leaders warning upcoming vote by the state regulators, CARB, could push more oil refineries to shut down. If refineries are driven out of the state, these jobs, tax revenues, and economic benefits will be lost and cannot be easily replaced. Remember what the Chevron guy said? Hey, if we pull our 2 plants, we're not coming back. Valero's not coming back. Phillips 66 is just going to shut down here in El Segundo, is not coming back. Chevron says if we shut down, we're done. Marathon Oil now is basically saying the same thing in a letter they just penned to Governor Gavin Newsom. If this doesn't light a 4-alarm fire of epic proportions, across the state legislature, all state offices, the odious, the lying through their teeth California Air Resources Board. And we've went through that with Mary Nichols and her phony studies, and we're all going to die of diesel smoke. And they passed part of this in Riverside, last November. They really hate you. But they want you to think they love you because they're looking for the next time to extract more money out of your wallet and drive you further in the ground while they enrich themselves. It's going to be something else. We'll get into the grifting Gavin Newsom and his ever increasingly, who's learned very well from the ding-dong, grifting wife. In a Daily Mail study they've uncovered of the grift they have going on. And the news can't even answer a standard question, which is not surprising. But we shall delve into this. It's going to be an enlightening show as we delve deeper into the abyss of Gavin Newsom. One of the more interesting things that has rolled off, he was on with Adam Friedland, a comic, political podcaster. I guess he does political comedy. I have never heard of him until this weekend. When you hit Gavin Newsom straight between the eyes with a very relevant question or thought, or ask him what are you going to do, he is deer in the headlights. He's suffered, or he's not suffered, he's benefited from a career that he really hasn't had much political opposition. He was appointed to his first position, like he said, by Willie Brown. He's been coddled. He's been, in San Francisco, when you're in the in crowd, you're getting elected, whatever. Then he benefited from the supersonic shift left in California when he became a lieutenant governor and governor. But this one was pretty stunning, and it exposes even more than the Ron DeSantis Gavin Newsom debate of a couple years ago, where Jenny Poo had to get the old vaudeville hook and pull him off the stage because he was looking so bad. This one with Adam Friedland was classic, real Gavin Newsom when you pin him down. Here you go.
What is your defined political project? Like what throughout your career and like that. Right now? Like what is the thing you want to accomplish like politically?
I don't have in your life. I don't have like a brand. I don't have a tag, Make America Great, or I don't the Great Society, or something like.
He does have a brand. His brand is Gavin Newsom. There it is. That's his brand, because he has no thoughts. He has no principles. It's just his world is all about Gavin Newsom. That's why you will never hear any sort of concept like Make America Great Again, or Morning in America, or any of the other light years of things that have galvanized and moved this country in a direction. Don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Back in 1960. that's what motivates. That's what gets people going. That's what galvanizes the support of whatever you're trying to sell. More from the ding-a-ling.
The Great Society, or something like Medicare for all the billionaires. But for me, no bullshit. It's just standing up for ideals, striking out against injustice. It defines my why in every way, shape, form. Stand up for ideals, strike out against injustice. I'm a Sarge Shriver Democrat. I'm into that whole 60s, the vernacular of the 60s.
I'm a Sergeant Shriver Democrat. I happen to be old enough to know Sergeant Shriver. He married Eunice Kennedy, one of John and Bobby's sisters. His main thing was he was the father of the Peace Corps. So he was married into the royal Democratic family, the Kennedys at the time. He was probably considered, if not the worst, if in the top 3 worst tickets he's ever run when he ran as vice president to George McGovern in 1972, and Nixon thoroughly stomped his ass. It was the tutti frutti, off the left stuff you're seeing in California now. He's telegraphing you. That's why you have the CARB regulations he's pushing to get the refineries out. Remember when you said, oh, I'm trying to keep Valero and Phillips 66 in here? No way. He told you. Marathon's telling you. Chevron's telling you. And he's pushing for the CARB regulations that are going to throw them out till we get down to 0 refineries here. More from the ding-a-ling.
Solving for ignorance and poverty and disease, and the spirit of the 60s, and the spirit of King, and and how the nonviolent movement and Gandhi, and
the spirit of King and violence and Gandhi and this and John F. Kennedy and Sergeant Shriver and Holy cow! This cat, Adam Freeland's like his look before, like he's going, like, I can't believe this guy.
Havel and Mandela, that moral authority, that whole space, that's the zeitgeist.
That whole space, that's the zeitgeist. What the hell is he talking about? He's not a Hindu preacher or something, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's me. That's my dad. That's my mom. That's the book. And
that's me. That's my dad. That's my mom. That's the book. That's nothing. You've said nothing. Yes, what would you do if you were president? He starts talking about gobbledygook.
That's my why. And so standing up for ideals is what gay marriage.
That's what my why. Standing up for gay marriage. Standing up for... Look at the pies look. Oh. Look at me. The soft eyes and the head tilt. And the feminine poses.
It was about work I'm doing right now to sort of push back, we can lose this country. And just feeling like I have to be held to account and strike out against the injustices of the day.
So if you had to define it, like, vote
I need
for
your
me
help to define
and you get...
If you had to define it, this guy's like, okay, he didn't answer the question. He's trying to rephrase it to get an answer. Oh, I need your help, Gavin Newsom says. Of course, because he has no principles. He has no thought. He has no ideas other than he wants to be the spotlight of president, so everybody's kissing my little rear end.
You tell me. You're better at this.
I don't know. I don't know who you...
You tell me you're better at this. Gavin Newsom spent his whole life running this BS. He's been in politics. This guy's a political comedian. He's not been mayor, lieutenant governor, governor. He's trying to figure out, he's probably thinking, you know what? I know more than this dipshit, to use Gavin Newsom's word, if he's going to use them.
Gave you my why, but how do you translate that into human?
What? So,
how do you translate that into human? He's like, what? He's like, this guy can't believe what he's hearing. Like, say what? Let's re-roll that again.
I don't know. I don't know who you. What
I
your
just gave
shit
you
is.
my why, but how do you translate
saying-
that into human?
What?
What? That is a classic. What? This guy's like thinking, Gavin Newsom is not real. Is it, have they figured out the hologram and AI deal in here? This guy can't be someone who's governor, who's risen from mayor to lieutenant governor to governor of California.
What? So if you say, like, make an appeal to a voter, right? Say, if you vote for me, you get X.
Yeah.
Like, what in a kind of concise, tangible sense? I'm talking to a regular guy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, what would you do? Are you planning on bringing $10 a gallon gas like you're going to do in California? Are you going to build worse roads? Are you going to bring vagrancy to a vagrant encampment in every block in America? That's what I'm going to do, because that's what he is going to do, because that's what he's done in California along with all the other crap. Highest cost in housing, dumbest kids coming out of our education system. And it's not their fault.
What
And
is that
I've
offer?
struggled with being able to communicate. I told you what my why is and why.
I struggle to be a communicator. That's all he ever does. No, he struggles when he's not in control of the communications, like you're seeing here. When he's saying, Trump is evil, and he knows there's a big constituency for that, and they're going to roll up and cheer no matter what. Oh, yeah, he looks good. This guy's actually, what would you do as president? What would a Gavin Newsom presidency 48 of the United States look like?
I'm here, and I mean that, and that's ingrained in every aspect of my life. And
there was the big truth. That's a grain in every aspect of my life. What would I do that's a grain in every aspect of my life? He's telling you 1,000% what he is going to do to you. And it's all about him. He's a narcissistic, psychopath, piece of ass human being. He only cares about himself. What makes Gavin, what makes the girls just, their hearts go all aflutter when I see Gabby? Oh, I just love to blank him. He's so cute. All the LGBTQs are going to love me because I was the first one to do a gay marriage in San Fran. That's your Gavin Newsom. That's what he said. This guy is thoroughly, as California's found out, dangerous. Let's roll that last piece again.
what my why is and why I'm here, and I mean that, and and that's ingrained in every aspect of my life, and it connects the dots.
No, I don't. I think we've watched enough. He's insufferable. Other than his good looks, I don't get the appeal. I mean, I get, okay, the women just love him because he's just so good looking. I've heard that 20 gazillion times. Lord help us all. They say, if this guy gets to be president, I don't know what's a worse disaster. Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom. And they seem to be they take the polling for president on the Democratic side, they seem to be almost every time they're the top two. You would figure after the Joe Biden debacle, we would come up with somebody at least with some sharps, some smarts. Can actually analyze the situation and come to a conclusion. Gavin Newsom cannot. It's really beyond any imagination that could come up. Furthermore, switching gears, Gavin Newsom and his grifting wife, well, grifting Gavin, he must have taught Jenny Poo, the little wifey, well, this is how you get those brown paper sacks showing up on the back porch and you kick them over. Oh, there's all this green stuff in here. What the hell? When you came running in, Carrie, go, look at this, Gavin. I'm going to Saks Fifth Avenue or wherever. He says, this is Jenny Poo's how you do it. The Daily Mail, exclusive, Gavin Newsom's wife. And great for the Daily Mail. Not, oh my, the first partner of Gavin Newsom. Whoever the hell came up with that. Gavin Newsom's wife and her firm pocketed $3.7 million from her gender stereotypes charities. So see, LGBTQ folks, he does not love you. He loves the money he's extracting from you, me, and everyone else. Unearthed IRS filings revealed days after his sanctimonious rant at the press. See what the good old Daily Mail has to say. This is by Josh Boswell, Chief Investigative. We're getting the Chief Investigative Reporter cracking on this one. And this must be a big enchilada over at the Daily. But now financial filings obtained by the Daily Mail suggest the first partner. Oh, they had to throw that in there. Of California may have to answer some tough questions. IRS documents from recent years show Gavin Newsom's wife, now we're back to the normal, has been paying herself and her company, Girls Club LLC, up to a third of her nonprofits. That's a word that is an oxymoron, which means it's not true. She's been paying herself about $1.2 million of this nonprofit to say, you know, it's those evil white hillbillies. They hate gays. They hate blacks. They hate browns. They're just mean. They need to be exterminated. Which is really what she means. Cybele Newsom, whose mom and dad left California and moved to Florida because of the extreme taxation and untenable conditions in California. And his dad has donated to Ron DeSantis for governor. Cybele Newsom, 51, runs the Representation Project, a charity that fights against intersectional gender stereotypes and harmful gender norms. The organization brings between 1.2 and 1.7 million a year in grants and donations. Roughly 300 grand is going straight to her and her company in recent years, according to financial records. Susan Shelley's been on. She'll probably be on Wednesday. She said about these BHES payments. And, you know, what Gavin Newsom does is say, hey, you know, oh, you need what? Oh, you want so much, you want this carve-out tech for this or that. Oh, you know, my wife, Jenny Poo, has a charity. Says how all the mean white hillbillies are you know, they just hate gays. How much can I write you? You know, how much can I expect you to send a check to Jenny Poo's nonprofit, which she's profiting from. De facto. You're getting a third cut. Her unusually high compensation and her company have recently sparked criticism of charity watchdogs with the Daily Mail analysis showing Cybele Newsom and her nonprofit colleagues earn more than 95% of charities of similar size. As governor, Gavin Newsom continues a national rebrand tour. No, he has no brand. He said it. He isn't rebranding. His only brand is Gavin Newsom. Gee, look at me. Aren't I gorgeous? Vote for me so I can screw you whenever I want. That's his brand. The fact is that his wife put 1/3 of their charity revenues into her own pockets and undoubtedly raised flags in the eyes of middle-class Americans. Caitlin Sutherland, executive director of the conservative transparency nonprofit Americans for Public Trust, told the Daily Mail, referencing $300,000 paid to Cybele Newsom and her firm. So in the last 4 years, she's been collecting about $300,000 per year in a so-called nonprofit. These cats will look at you and lie through their frickin' teeth and then call you out, call you cheap and mean and nasty and this because you're not kissing her little rear end. And then, oh, that's a great picture, the one where she had a hissy fit, because Ashley Zavala asked him a question that wasn't about whatever, pink this, and stop Trump's war on women and all that. Holy Moses. It's absolutely stunning. There you go through all the statistics. And it's a ripoff, plain and simple. The grifting couple, Gulag, Gavin Newsom, and Jenny Poo. Oh, don't they just look lovely? I wonder how much that earring is hanging off of her. And who knows, look at those rings and everything else. The outfit probably costs $4 or $5 because they don't care. Because they're stealing it from you. They're either using their influence to get people to pay de facto bribes, in my opinion, or they're just outright taking it from you through taxation. But boy, don't I look good in my $10,000 Villa Rayon or whatever, I don't know, I just made that up, pantsuit. And my $2,500 high-heeled shoes. And the list goes on. The $150,000 paid to Cybele Newsom's company, Girls Club LLC, each year, and her charity is for writer-producing fees. It's blatantly legalized theft. There's no other way to describe it. California DMV, between all the, them hiring the people, the lady, putting it probably loosely, who was sleeping half the day, you can almost get what she's doing the other half of the day, that didn't get fired, to all the California DMV This is in the Cal Matters license to kill. After his crash that killed a child, the DMV renewed his license, then hid its records. There is either moral culpability or legal liability on them, Placer County DA said. They're actively seeking to prevent from being discovered. As it is, like it is, there's the guy, licensed to kill from Cal Matters. They give these guys licenses when they have track records that they should not be anywhere near any kind of motor vehicle. Yet, they keep renewing it, and then when somebody like this guy kills somebody, manslaughter, took his 3/4-ton Dodge truck, ran into some lady's car that was broke down, had a flat tire, killed her 23-month-old. The prosecutors wanted the DMV records. DMV's been fighting them for a year. They don't care. 23-month-old boy was killed. And that his murderer might walk if they don't give the records over. This is beyond insanity. Family of a man stabbed to death outside of Downey Library suing for $40 million. Old story. Remember about 3 months ago? A vagrant stabs a guy. They call, cops get their ambulance and stuff. Ambulance guys are treating him, trying to do that. Then another vagrant steals the ambulance. I kid you not. Here's the report from back in September from NBC4. Get a quick snippet of that.
Library around 9:40 in the morning for a man who'd been stabbed to death. Police arrested a 23-year-old man for the attack at the Downey High School down the street. While emergency personnel were treating the victim, police say a 52-year-old man jumped into the ambulance and led officers on a chase that ended more than 12 miles away, involving the Downey, San Gabriel, and Alhambra police departments.
Police say that.
Notice KNBC4 did not at any time mention it was a vagrant that stabbed the poor guy, then another vagrant that stole the ambulance. Now this family, rightfully so, is suing for $40 million. Here's their attorney now. Today, here's an update on the story. CBS 2. Let's see why CBS 2 is not talking.
Secure other areas of the city, but not their crown jewel, their civic center.
LaFonce was charging his car near the Downey City Library last September when prosecutors say Giovanni Navarro, an unhoused man with a criminal past, attacked and stabbed him to death.
Certainly a credible anticipation or expectation that it would be a safe place, when in fact it wasn't, and it was a complete colossal failure on the part of the city.
Paramedics rushed to help but couldn't take him to the hospital.
The paramedics couldn't transport him to the hospital because the vehicle was stolen by another homeless man, which you can't even write this stuff. I mean, it was just so outrageous and so...
Yes. You can't make this story up. It's so outrageous, so ridiculous. No, who would have figured? Okay, you draw the unlucky lottery ticket, you get stabbed by a vagrant. Okay, the ambulance gets there. Somebody calls the ambulance. People are trying to help you out. Cops get there trying to save the guy. They get out, get all their stuff out, to get all their emergency stuff out, probably stretcher, yada, yada, yada. Another vagrant gets in the ambulance and steals it. Crashes into, if I remember right, causes another accident after he stole the ambulance. Like the attorney said, for representing the people suing for $40 million. And they probably should sue for more. But I wish they would start using the term vagrant. They're not unhoused, they're not homeless, they're vagrants. Drug addicts. Absolutely uncanny.
Ridiculous for this to happen.
He says the ambulance wasn't equipped with an anti-theft system. Nicholas DeMarco led police on a 15-mile chase in the ambulance before crashing in Alhambra and was arrested. Concerned community members.
So this is why everything in California and the costs are going to go through the roof. So now you're going to have 3 guys. You know what the anti-theft device is? You're going to have another man on the ambulance. You're going to have 2 guys to come out and try and save you, and 1 guy to wait for the ambulance, or to man the ambulance so it doesn't get stolen. Because you don't want to be shutting things on and off when you're in an emergency situation like that. Because what if the ambulance doesn't fire up? Then you're going to get sued again. Or the manufacturer of the vehicle gets, or this, that, and the other. So now, the ridiculous, $2,500 for an ambulance ride or whatever the ridiculous cost is. We're going to be on. Now it's going to cost $3,500 because now we're going to have to put another man on the ambulance. This is stunningly. This is California. This is Gavin Newsom's California. This is why he won't answer the question from Adam Freeland, the comic, who's like going, what? You have no plan to run for president? Because, people are going to bring up, in Gavin Newsom's California, you get stabbed by a vagrant. If the cops or the ambulance do get there, another vagrant's waiting to steal the ambulance so you can die. There's no adjective that can really explain this. Any of it. No words could really, truly explain the humongous hole we have dug in for ourselves in California. And I mean humongous. It's one of the biggest Greek tragedies, as they say. And we're living it. Hopefully we have enough chops to unlive it. Time will tell. Maybe we'll get Steve and Chad in on the top 2. Maybe we'll figure this stuff out. Maybe people are finally figuring out it's Gavin Newsom that's got the price of gas $5 a gallon and everything else going on.
30 seconds, Roy.
You got it. We'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds. Hopefully Dr. Kelly will call in.
Hey, Dr. Kelly, is that you?
We'll be
Good to have you. Good to have you. My favorite guest of any program, by the way.
Loaded up in the queue. We'll get Dr. Kelly's thoughts on some of this, and got a really big.
Here we go, guys. 10 seconds.
On Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire. The aforementioned AM band joining a vast studio audience in the UFB Network. YouTube, check us out, type in IE Newswire, Roy Bleckert. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face. We had at least people, maybe people are finally getting some sharps in California. They're blaming Gulag Gavin Newsom after they're paying $107 to fill up their little rice rockets like they've never done before. And they're going like, holy crap. They are blaming Gavin Newsom, which is the appropriate place to put the blame. This little deal over in Iran, hopefully with what Trump said today, we're getting out of that deal and the price of a barrel of oil will come down from 100 to 60 bucks a gallon, and things will be back to the way they were used to, but that doesn't solve the California problem. On top of that, Gavin Newsom was on with comic Adam Freeland, and he couldn't even answer what he was going to do as president or what is his plan. He was like double talking and doing his little hand gestures and eye rolling and, oh, aren't I beautiful? He's a narcissistic piece of crap. And the only brand he doesn't, he's lying when he says he doesn't have a brand. His brand is Gavin Newsom. And whatever makes everybody kiss his royal behind, that's what he's all about. And that's what, even Adam Freeland had to say, like, what? He was like stunned in that whole little exchange. On top of that, grifting Gavin Newsom taught little wifey Jenny Poo how to steal money through a nonprofit. The Daily Mail had that, where she's banked in 4 years, banked personally $1.2 million on $3.7 million of nonprofit. On this whole gender that, you know, guys like Roy are just homophobic, this mean, and for every reason, and they should be exterminated off the face of the earth. On top of that, the family's finally update on the case of the family is suing for $40 million after their relative got stabbed to death by a vagrant. Then when the ambulance crew and the cops get there, another vagrant steals the ambulance. I think they should sue for $100 billion, because maybe that will stop this. But as we usually do on a Monday, we have the famed supreme physician in all the world, expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Hey, Roy, always great to be with you on a Monday or any day. Look, you've got to cut Gavin Newsom some slack. He's dumb as a box of hammers. Just ask him. He's the first to say he's a 960 SAT guy. He can't read. He's just plain dumb, so we can't really hold him accountable for all the insanity that he's out there saying. Perhaps with the exception of this idiocy with regard to transgenderism, for that he's pandering to the far progressive left. And even, more and more of the country is starting to understand just how unhinged this issue is with regard to the transgender narrative.
It's absolutely stunning. I was having a conversation with some business guys and stuff, and we went through all the reasons of this and of that, and they were talking about employees and all that. And you can't, Gen Z, and you can't get people to work and anything like that, and they can't read and they can't write and everything. And it was the overwhelming conclusion of all of us that these kids were not raised as free-range kids. They've never had the experience of being kicked out on Saturday morning and not expected to be home till after, when the street lights came on, to go out and do something.
Right.
And that's, they never learned how to interact, how conflict of that. And I think that we keep talking about all the symptoms of it. I think that's the main thing right there, is you're seeing with the new with the generations coming up and all the things that we keep talking about. But I say it's because they were not raised as free-range kids, Dr. Kelly.
Well, I think you're onto something. It's certainly multifactorial, Roy, and we've talked about this many times. There's been an initiative over the past couple of decades to de-risk life, to somehow make it so that kids never experience rejection, failure, loss, whatever it is, which is why it started with everybody gets a trophy. And that has now been taken, by the way, to its extreme. I just saw a posting over the weekend that in the LA Marathon, and you were talking to somebody who is, a 6-time marathoner and 15-time 200-mile relay racer. I have been a lifelong distance runner. In the LA Marathon, if you wanted to stop at mile 18 because you couldn't finish, you'd still get a completion medal. Seriously, this is how bad it's gotten. And rather than having to run the whole 26.2 miles, you could stop at mile 18 and still act as if you finished and get a completion medal. This is where we've gotten. So you're right. These are, quote, in your vernacular, not free-range kids. These are people, we have an entire now 2 generations worth of people who have never been held to any standard. They are allowed to pass a grade even if they can't read and write. They're allowed to get a trophy even if they don't finish a race. They're allowed to, get whatever it is. They should never have loss, failure, rejection, or, God forbid, any accountability. And the problem is when you do that, you end up with a society that behaves exactly like this society is behaving, which is that they come unhinged if there's ever a consequence for their poor behavior.
1,000%, and that's been my point of this of the free range kids. They never had the opportunity. I mean, they never had to go up. You went, okay, we're going to go up to Box Springs Mountain. You had to figure your way to get up there and out without getting bit by a rattlesnake or anything else, or getting lost. Or if you did get lost, you had to figure out your way to get back or anything else. You learned how to interact with people. You learned how to solve problems. You learned how to solve conflicts. It was that they didn't learn that with this antiseptic bubble society we have tried to keep for kids, like you said, with this is a symptom of the LA Marathon deal where everybody, you can't make the whole marathon. Well, we'll just shorten it up. If it takes you 3 days to run it, we're going to keep the camera running so we can show everybody how far we have fallen, Dr. Kelly.
No, I agree. And as I said, the problem is, there's something about failure, loss, rejection that builds character. It's what forges people into being stronger. It teaches them to work harder, to set their goals, set better goals, be better at time management, whatever it is. If instead you tell people you should never have these bad experiences, and if you do, it's because somebody has let you down and we're going to fix it. If you forget your lunch, when I was a kid growing up, if you forgot your lunch, you didn't eat lunch. You were hungry when you got home because you had forgotten your dang lunch. Now, there's somebody who has to step in and there's a program for it, and we can't ever allow, this to happen because God forbid a child should go 3 hours without eating. And so we have, in this attempt to de-risk life, we have coddled 2 generations of people so that they are no longer capable of fending for themselves. And although that, may make life more enjoyable for people, it certainly makes for a more malleable society. It does not make for a society that is resilient, that is capable of bouncing back after a trauma, that's capable of rebuilding itself after a natural disaster, that's capable of standing up and fighting back when there's a threat, foreign or domestic. And so we have now 2 generations worth of kids who, frankly, are soft. They're squishy, and they're not capable.
Switching gears, and another reason why probably we're not, but this guy, not only jail, and I think breaking rocks in Leavenworth is just too light a punishment for this guy. Bobby Kennedy's put it out, the latest on the Fauci, the F-word files. Let's roll the tape.
You want to treat them at home. Give them the things that we know kill viral replication. zinc and anything that enhances zinc, like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and 100 other remedies that we now know dramatically reduce the spread of this disease. And what was our protocol? Our protocol was to do none of that. No treatment until you go to the hospital. And then your treatment are two things that are bound to kill you: ventilators and remdesivir. And Tony Fauci knew that remdesivir would kill you. He knew that because in 2019, he tried to use it for Ebola. 2019, he tried to use it for Ebola, and within 5 days of treatment, it gave lethal side effect to 54% of the people, and the Safety Monitoring Board ordered him to terminate the use of that drug. And he, through a phony, contrived, absolutely fraudulent study that he manipulated and orchestrated.
If just 1% of that is true, that I don't, like I said, breaking rocks in Leavenworth would not be enough punishment for that guy, Dr. Kelly.
I can tell you 100% of what Bobby Kennedy said was true in that regard. Number one, COVID was the first time in my entire clinical career where we experienced what I call therapeutic nihilism. We acted as if there was no way to treat this virus, when in fact there were a multitude of treatments. Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin were just two. We knew that the simplest of things like vitamin D and zinc and quercetin were very, very helpful. But instead, as Bobby said, we were not allowed to give those things, and instead they did the two things that were fundamentally a death sentence: ventilators and remdesivir. Tony Fauci absolutely knew from the experience with Ebola that remdesivir caused profound renal failure in more than 56% of the patients in whom it was given, and that it would kill people, and same thing with the ventilators. So instead, people got admitted to the hospital, put on ventilators, given remdesivir, and if they didn't die then, they put the last hammer in the coffin with Paxlovid, which has a ton of drug interactions, does not work, and causes rebound infection in almost everybody. So, yes, Tony Fauci is an absolute fraud. He should be held accountable. He perjured himself more than 3 or 4 times in front of Congress, yet he's gone underground now, and in all likelihood, he will never face any tribunal or ever be held to account.
This is Mel Gibson on with Joe Rogan on his account and experience with Remdesivir. Here we go.
Mike Gardner. And he had it first, and then I got it. And I was like, did I grab the hose or what? What was, I don't know. But I knew the guy for 20 years, and we both went to the same hospital. And he died and I didn't.
Jesus.
I think we both got remdesivir, which is not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Causes kidney failure.
I know. I couldn't walk for 3 months after I had that stuff.
Really?
Because it kills you. I found out afterwards it kills you, and that's why I wonder about Fauci.
Oh, you should wonder about that guy. Yeah. When meanwhile, they were trying to stop people from getting monoclonal antibodies.
Yeah.
Again, the evidence is so overwhelming coming out of this case. It's beyond stunning, like you say, and I agree with you 111%. Nothing's going to be done to this F word, and this may be the biggest Greek tragedy we've ever lived through, Dr. Kelly.
No, absolutely. And to be clear, Anthony Fauci is the kingpin here, Roy, but he has hardly acted alone. There are many, many others who should be held to account as well, including people like Rick Bright and Robert Redfield and Rochelle Walensky, Deborah Birx, and many, many others. And with regard to that monoclonal antibody debacle, they knew that the government knew that monoclonal antibodies worked, and they purposely stopped sending them to states that were defying, quote-unquote, their edicts with regard to ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. They knew that places like Florida and Texas were prescribing ivermectin, and in order to punish those states, they would not give them any allocation of monoclonal antibodies. So the monoclonal antibodies went to states that were being, dutiful and following what Anthony Fauci said. It was absolutely punitive medicine. It resulted in the unnecessary death of millions of people. And people died really as a result of failure to be treated, as well as the absolute toxic shots that they were given by mandate in most cases.
It's again, the whole thing, and it seems like we're just burying this whole subject, sans Robert Kennedy and you and a few others, Peter McCullough, are still trying to beat the drum on this. Hey, and the reason is we do not, or at least from my perspective, I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. I mean, we can't change what was done, but the American people and the world should not ever be subject to this sort of con, the COVID con of that, the people lied, people died. This may be the biggest example of that, Dr. Kelly.
Right, and that's the reason why it's so important to keep drumming it is because history will repeat itself, Roy. They already, right on the heels of COVID, tried to run up the flagpole. Let's monkeypox. Remember, we had Mpox and Zika, Marburg virus. There's always something coming down the pike that they want you to be fearful of, and I promise you, we will have another pandemic relatively soon. We know that Gates and the powers that be have been engaged still in gain-of-function research. The Chinese are currently manipulating COVID in an attempt to make it such that it is able to cross what's called the blood-brain barrier and get into the brain, where it has caused 100% mortality rate in the mice on which it's been tested. They are still manipulating these viruses, trying to make a more lethal version. So don't be surprised if we have another pandemic. And if we allow this last one to go without any accountability, you can expect the same thing again. There will be mandates and lockdowns and all sorts of egregious overreach on the part of government officials, and public health, quote, experts. And I think the only way to avoid that is to continue to shine, sunlight on on everything that happened during the last one, during the COVID con.
Switching gears again, you posted this on the X machine, which is absolutely stunning. But you had Bobby Jr. and Education Secretary McMahon announced that starting this fall, 53 medical schools across 31 states will deliver at least 40 hours of nutrition education during their undergraduate medical training. We're just getting to this point. And what have they been getting? Zero? No wonder our health system is collapsing, Dr. Kelly.
Yeah, I would say that it's darn near zero historically, Roy. The amount of time spent in medical school on nutrition was very, very minimal, particularly relative to the amount of time we spend on things like pharmacology. So there's always a defer to drugs versus defer to a better diet, or even understanding the things in our diets that are driving disease processes. So given the state of our knowledge right now, I think it is critically important for people in medical training to understand things like the impact of seed oils on inflammatory processes, the effect of glucose and sugar intake on driving cancer, and those sorts of things. So yes, finally, we now have these 53 different medical schools that are going to incorporate 40 hours worth of nutrition in their medical school training. That's the least that we can do. It certainly isn't going to fix everything. I love Bobby Kennedy, but I don't believe that it's going to reverse the chronic disease epidemic. But it certainly will help if physicians are armed with at least the basic knowledge. I happen to know a lot about nutrition because I'm interested in it, but the average physician can't tell you how many calories are in an apple, or what, the breakdown of omega-3 and omega-6, fats is in a particular piece of fish. Those are things that are pretty important when you're trying to advise patients who have things like diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, that sort of stuff. And so I think it will be helpful. And again, it's at least trying to balance the overemphasis that we've had historically on pharmaceuticals.
We got a couple minutes left. Anything else our audience should know?
No, I guess I'm still, because I'm obsessed with it, I'm still watching the Surgeon General situation. Dr. Casey Means had her first hearing in front of the subcommittee a week or two ago. She said virtually nothing. She dodged a lot of bullets, which is part of the game there. She is going to have received a bunch of other questions that she has to respond to in writing, and it remains to be seen if her nomination will be forwarded to the entire Senate for a confirmation hearing. I suspect that it will. Assuming that happens, get your popcorn ready, get a big screen TV, and get ready to watch the fun, because it will absolutely be a very feisty hearing, to say the least.
Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. We'll do this again soon.
Sounds good.
The great Dr. Kelly Victory, as we say, saying it only as she can. It's, man, some stunning, as they say, revelations coming across the airwaves on that. Again, I'm just absolutely stunned. Anthony Fauci is still walking around a free man. Peeping Tom was discovered, or that's what cops say, around UCR, the University of California at Riverside. A couple of young ladies were disturbed. One man was arrested. Let's check out the KTLA-5 report. Oh, we thought we were going to check out the KTLA-5 report.
Arrested, accused of peeping into the windows of young women. Good evening. This is the news at 5:30. I'm Micah Ullman.
And hi there, I'm Courtney Frail. Cher has the evening off. Investigators say the alleged peeping Tom targeted UC Riverside's female students.
KTLA Shelby Nelson live in Riverside, where detectives are looking for more victims. Shelby.
Micah Court, Riverside police say that since they've put out this information about the alleged prowler, they have received information from other callers, possibly linking those or that suspect to other incidents.
You can never let your guard down. I don't care where you live.
Because as safe as residents would say this Riverside neighborhood is, it doesn't mean they're immune. In fact, it's this very neighborhood where an alleged prowler is accused of peeping into the windows of this home where several college students live.
They're students, and this did not look like a student. You could tell he was definitely an older gentleman.
An older gentleman sporting a backwards cap and what appears to be gray sweatpants and a black long sleeve. The night of February 2nd, Jessica Andrade was sitting in her car outside her house, ready to run a few errands at night.
I see a gentleman coming from the right, from the girls' area, whether it would be the girls or the house after, and just walking over, and I was like, he doesn't look familiar.
But then again, she's seen people come and go at this house before. Jessica didn't think anything of it until she learned that someone that same night was reported to authorities peeping in the girls' windows. Another neighbor who didn't want to appear on camera says the man tried opening a door on the side of the house.
I feel really bad because when the girls were telling me what had happened, they're scared.
Riverside police arrested 49-year-old Robert Clement Rincon, and they believe he's done this before. Rincon is accused in a similar incident from November. Police say both times he was allegedly targeting young female UC Riverside students. In this case, the nearest intersection is Watkins Drive and Mount Vernon Avenue.
It's just extremely disturbing. There's a high school right back here, and then obviously college. I mean, these are all minors or young adults. It's just another thing to keep an eye out for, and it's definitely not something that should be happening. It's definitely scary for women and all people.
Jessica says the landlord has since put locks on her neighbors' gates, and that everyone on their street is staying vigilant.
That's what we do as neighbors, take care of each other.
Now, Rincon was booked on several charges, but has since posted bail. The district attorney has not formally filed any charges just yet, but Riverside police say that they believe there are other victims out there, so anyone with information is asked to contact them. Reporting live in Riverside.
So that's right up against the base of Box Springs Mountain on the Riverside side. Very upper middle class area for decades in Riverside. Turning into an asshole. Orange County. If you get stabbed by one vagrant, even if that doesn't kill you, they're gonna another vagrant when the ambulance gets there is gonna steal that, so they make sure you die. In Orange County, Holy bleeping cow. Maybe what does give us hope, at least me, people of California are realizing it's Gavin Newsom that's jacking the gas prices and all the other stuff, and all his ilk on down. That's why, and we'll have some on the Roy plan, top 2 and 2 to June, probably tomorrow. But it's the consequences of getting Steve and Chad in the top 2 are going to even make it greater that we can start replacing some of these ding-dongs we put into office for decades here in California and run the state flat into the ground. These problems are not just in the so-called bad areas. They're everywhere. It's time we clean this crap up. Maybe. Sometimes it's sad that we have to get down to this point, but at least we're at the point where we can probably save it. But we can't screw around anymore. It's time for action. Time for us to get up off the couch and get it done before it's too late. That'll do it for today. As we usually say at this time, it's mandatory you're back here in 23 hours wide. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid.
All right, Roy. I will talk to you tomorrow.
You got it.